Hey guys, Nananki here, bringing you a Team Fortress 2 gameplay commentary. Today I was wanting to just kind of play some vanilla TF2, you might call it, just playing some Demoman with the default loadout, except I'm using the lock and load instead of the regular grenades, and had a great start there. I planned to sticky jump off toward the sniper over here, kind of what I'm doing right now. Totally didn't really happen, but I still left it in because it was kind of funny. It shows you how things can totally go awry. And I noticed they're built up in that house there, and of all the places in the game that were literally designed to be destroyed by a Demoman, that's got to be right about at the top of the list for places that are terribly, terribly vulnerable to Demoman in a way that they are not to other classes. Because you can lob rockets in there and whatnot, but they're going to be going up toward the ceiling. Whereas as a Demoman, if you're standing at the top of this little ramp here, this little section of stairs, it almost doesn't even matter what the enemy tries to do. You're just going to be able to feed stickies in that little opening and bomb the ever-loving crap out of everything up there. And even if, by some miracle, you don't get everything in one pass and there's still people up there, there's not really any options. If there's a telly in the corner, you can just stand over at the other angle, the left slightly, and feed stickies into the destruction of everything. And before you know it, the room is clean, and there's no one else to kill. And you see just bodies hanging off the stairs. I noticed there's like a giant pile of stickies on the cart, and I'm like, well, I can't destroy them, but I could certainly knock them around a little bit. You know, it's been a while since I did a normal, what you might call post-commentary, which is what I started doing on my channel in the first place, and I kind of turned into a more live-streamy, let's play type channel than I am a post-commentary TF2 channel, which is, like I said, the origin of everything. But as I've been doing live streams twice a week, and that's 3 hours of TF2 a week right there, I haven't felt the same impetus to do the commentaries as frequently, and I got out of the habit of doing what was my old method, which was just to play for a couple hours one night, and then the following night spend a couple hours editing. And, by the way, I have to just point out, I love killing snipers. I'll go out of my way and throw my life away anytime to go and bring it to the snipers and go flying right to them like, hello! That's one of my favorite things to do in the world. Another thing that's changed is now I'm recording in 1080p, and although 720p is only 50% smaller than 1080p, 1080p is 50% larger as far as number of pixels, it takes more than twice as long for me to encode. And I'm sure someone who knows a lot about video encoding could tell you why, and I wish I had the bottle out slightly quicker there. I really didn't expect the medic to charge forward. It's an aggressive medic. That was the proper move. If he'd run backwards, odds are really good I would have got him with the third lock and load shot I would have had loaded in just a moment after missing that second one. And I know a lot of people have said that 720p is totally sufficient for their enjoyment and that they don't require 1080p video from me, but I really enjoy the higher quality myself, so I want it for my own purposes, that I feel that it just looks better, and it's the highest quality that YouTube currently supports, and why shouldn't I be recording in 1080p? But of course, instead of being, you know, done with a video that's like, say, 22 minutes long and sitting down to encode it and it takes 2 hours or a little bit less, now it takes a little bit over 4, like closer to 4.5. Part of the blame has definitely got to go to the fact that my computer is actually a little bit older than you might expect. It's a quad-core processor, not from the i7 line or anything. It's just a Q9650. And I had to slow down the footage here because that was an epic face stab. I was 180 degrees backing up, but I guess he was next to me enough, as you could see. And immediately upon my next spawn, what do I see but a red tape recorder slowly deconstructing the teleporter. And I have been on the receiving end of that so many times as an NG, where I could not get the sapper off from the other end of it. I was like, I will save the day here, and I went ahead and got the sapper off and threw the metal I had into it as well. Which didn't quite get it to level 2, but I figured, like, well, the NG could take care of it from there. I need to get back to the front line, because if I'm not there, who's going to throw grenades at people? And back to the subject of my computer. I built this computer at the beginning of '09, so it's actually 4 years old now. And although the video card is newer, it's a GTX 580 I got a couple years ago now, there are finally starting to be programs and games that I can tell I'm not quite at the level of hardware I want to be, especially when it comes to capturing things like Kerbal Space Program. I don't think I could capture that in 1080p, almost regardless of what video card I had in this computer, because the CPU is already maxed out, the memory bandwidth is maxed out, just trying to manage the physics of the game. And so scaling the resolution up or down doesn't really have a big effect on my frame rate, so obviously I am in need of a more powerful CPU, faster memory, more memory for that matter. I got 4 gigs of RAM in this machine, and when I built that, it was plenty. It was more than enough. I even, in fact, joked with people who had 8 gigabytes of RAM at the time. It was like, what are you even putting that in there for? You're not going to run a single thing that uses 8 gigs of RAM. And it's like, well, now editing video and so forth, there's literally not a single video editing session where I'm not using 8 gigs or all 4 gigs of RAM. Every single time, every video I do, I'm using all 4 gigs of RAM. Right here, I couldn't believe there were still people building this little room. No one else on my team was addressing this except me and this medic, and it was a shame I got that crit sticky stuck on the inner wall, but maybe it wasn't such a bad thing anyway because everybody died and it was cool in the end. And I saw the medic standing there and I was like, well, I won't blow up the telly because obviously you're waiting to saw somebody, but you're kind of close to the telly. You can't be right up against it. That is essentially the same thing as being on top of it. You have to be like one healthy step backwards. You know, still be in melee range, certainly, but take a healthy step backwards. I like all the grenades that were rolling right there, too, and I was like, oh, let me just push around the left. There's nobody there. Oh, yeah, there's plenty of people there now. I lucked out on that Demoman, too, just in time to come around the corner into a Kritzkrieg soldier. Not really what I wanted to see at that moment, but, you know, what you gonna do? At that point, when you're point blank to a Kritzkrieg soldier, cutting around a corner, there's no options for you at that moment. So I'm trying to push from the left-hand side here because going around the side is usually something that's pretty effective as a Demoman, especially on this map. In this particular area, I like to put down some stickies in front of me and then blow up all the stuff on the other side because that's a very commonly built-up area. It's very commonly fortified with engineer buildings and dispensers and so on and so forth, and if you can flank them and blow all that stuff up, it makes pushing the cart go a lot smoother. And so as you can see, I switched off the lock and load to the purely vanilla Demoman loadout now. I am using just the regular grenade launcher and once again just spamming grenades into that corner. And I saw the medic on my team not healing me. Luckily I didn't strafe too close to him because he was in fact a spy. In fact, both those guys were spies and it didn't even matter because I got sniped anyway. And that's why you always got to kill the snipers. Doesn't matter what it takes. Top priority is not the cart, it is sniper killing. Unfortunately, I don't think I do any more high-flying sniper kills in this particular video, but there were enough people on the front line to keep my attention, and I didn't feel like I had the option to go flying after any snipers, especially with mini-sentries all over the place. A giant pile of people standing on the dispenser, like last time. And here I got the buff banner because of the soldier that is in the vicinity somewhere, but I'm getting shot in the back by this guy, and luckily for me, he went for the melee at the end there. If he had had anything else, any other weapon equipped, you know, if he had just waited for one more rocket to reload, he'd have reloaded one rocket in that amount of time, and maybe we both would have died anyway. I don't know. It was funny when I saw the teleport right there. I was like, what the hell? I was like, oh yes, the rescue ranger. Very good. You can see also the engineer has stuff built up in the little alcove directly in front of me. There's a teleporter and a mini sentry in there, I think. I don't know. But after that, soldier blew me up and I didn't even see him coming. He came around the rock and one rocket, job done. Dead demo man. So, you know, we've pretty much handled the guns. There's only mini sentries going up and they're not really worth going out of your way to destroy because they just go right back up immediately. It's not at all the same thing as the entrenchment that a level 3 creates. But, you know, they are a thing to be taken out. You just can't ignore them because they are an aimbot and they will whittle you down in no time at all. Right here, all I was doing was trying to, like, kill the heavies and run away from the heavies, and I missed him and tried to drop off the ledge before he could shoot me with a rocket. It didn't really happen. We still won, in fact, before I could even get back to the front line, so the continual pressure paid off, and I got in the top scoreboard there, but I didn't really feel like I accomplished anything at the end of that round, but I left it in anyway. And the same reason why I left this in. Sometimes I just can't accomplish things. It's like, you know, there's usually stuff built up on top of the truck there on the left, or engineer stuff sometimes in that building directly there on the left. That's one of the few spots that are worth building up at the first point here. The other one, of course, is right behind that fence. The wooden fence almost always has some NG stuff built up behind it, but the NG's gun was right up against the ledge, and I hadn't even seen it yet when I blew it up with stickies, because it was in such an obvious and vulnerable position. So that sniper luckily did not get a headshot, and I saw the bonk there on the Demoman, and I was like, well, let me just feed a continual stream of stickies into the doorway, kind of guard his life a little bit against the scout that will most likely be following since he did accomplish that bonk. That was where I was shooting at, by the way, when you saw me firing grenades into oblivion there. And again, there's a whole bunch of people up there. fire some grenades into that vicinity. You know, even if they're just rolling around in there, rattling about, they will still get something accomplished when they explode under people's feet. You know, spam is sometimes looked down upon, but it gets the job done. It does. It's a dissuasive measure. It's to dissuade enemies from trying to chase you. I was glad I had the regular grenade launcher there and not the lock and load, because the first 2 shots were just rubbish. So was the third one for that matter, but I had 4, and that was all I needed, luckily for me. And I think that was, in fact, the last time I run into that fellow as a spy. The next time I run into him, I believe he has changed into a Demoman. And speaking of Demoman right there, I had 2 stickies on that corner, but I just could not get them deaded fast enough. He had to step on me. 1 more step, and I think I would have had him. And I saw the spy go into the side building there, and I didn't see anyone burn to death in the kill feed until, of course, he did, and there he is. I half expected him to come out the other side and have another target to kill, but it didn't play out that way. So now we've pretty much got this point. We've got so many people on top of it that it's a foregone conclusion. We do have the corner cleared, for that matter. A lot of the payload maps are really linear in nature because obviously they are on tracks. They're literally on rails, so how can you avoid being somewhat linear? And so when you are stuck on a corner like the one we're approaching right there, what do I usually try to do is try to go some alternate route. Try to find any other direction to circumvent the primary defensive corridor, because holding that corner is just a matter of just concentrating fire upon it. But luckily, Valve is smart enough to know that you can't just leave no options for defense. I love that shot that there was nobody there. I kind of expected the NG to come around the corner, and I did get his sentry, but at the same moment as I got blown to smithereens by the man who had switched from Spy to Demo. Obviously, he felt like he had accomplished enough on Spy, or perhaps was sick of not accomplishing enough on Spy, and switched to Demoman. I have been there many, many times myself, and this was terribly frustrating. I know there's that sentry gun at the top of those stairs, and there's a few places you can stand to get, you know, grenades on target, but I could not get the thing to blow up. I blew up the dispenser that was next to the NG, and I was going to burn to death here, and I ran for it, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to get it. But then he did heal me anyway, and then he followed me on top of that, this fellow by the name of Deadly Leaf, and I realized he almost had an Uber built up at 80%. Going around this corner and possibly courting death would be possibly the wrong choice. And so once I saw that we did in fact have a sentry to kill, I went ahead and just focused on that to the exclusion of the engineer. I was like, you can throw punches at me all day long, I don't care, I have other guns to kill in the meantime, and hoped for the best on those 2 frag grenades. Kind of tried to aim toward the left-hand side of the sentry so that the blast damage would extend around it and kind of get that wraparound effect going. Because if the NG's directly behind the thing, it really will not hit him. So, luckily, the NG was not directly behind his gun. He was kind of to the side of it, and my frag grenades worked just fine. So now I'm chucking some grenades at that soldier, and I heard and saw the sentry gun rockets, and I was like, oh crap, but it's our sentry, and it's set up this close to the final point. I was like, oh hell yes, NG. That gives us a heck of a point to work from here. And so knowing that I've got that sentry set up there, and in fact he moved it up another few feet, so now it's basically covering the point. There's no way to lose. So I went chasing off after that Demoman with the bottle and didn't really accomplish anything, but here's a few bonus clips. The other day when I was playing on this map and I had a dead spy on top of my teleporter, I noticed his eyes were moving, and then his face started moving, and then the dead spy started talking to me! And I was literally screaming at my monitor when that was happening. That would have been a great time to have a live commentary going. And this I just loved as well, because I got my ass kicked by this Pyro and this Scout a couple times on this map, where they picked me apart one by one, and then I had an opportunity to kill them both. And I was so deliriously pleased with myself, I even taunted over it. And those of you who know me know that I do not frequently taunt after getting a kill. It is not something I usually drive a point home about. It's like, yeah, you know, I got you in this exchange, you'll get me in the next one. I really felt good about those. And this I left in there because this is one of those great times where, yeah, sure, the Uber got blown around by a Pyro, and sure, I'm completely behind the enemy's front line when it ended, but does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. You can still get back. You just gotta have confidence and an infinite Bloodslogger clip. But anyway, that pretty much brings us to the end here, so thank you so much for watching. I do greatly appreciate it. As always, do like it if you liked it, and I will catch you next time. Peace.